Hello, welcome to Convo. I'm very lucky and happy to have our dear friend Seamus joining us today. We're going to talk about his upcoming show, um, uh, and then we're going to talk about some fun things that he's working on lately. I'm not going to be talking too much. I've known Seamus for a little bit of a bit of our history.
Couple of years. Yeah, we have a fun
It's
history.
it's been a couple years, but yeah, I'm so super excited about this upcoming thing that he's working on. I know that he's working on this really hard. So without further ado, I want to ask, um, how are you doing? How are you doing this week?
I'm doing well. I just started a new job in the last few weeks, so doing some electrician work industrially, which has been new and different, but lots of fun. And it's nice to just change things up.
Yeah, I'm super happy for you. Selfishly, for selfish reasons, because I know that
Yeah.
the market, so to speak, hasn't been the nicest.
Yeah,
Um,
I know. I was having a time even. I thought like, it's been a good job so far, and I'm happy to have one, and I feel really lucky. So
that's good. Do you work with a team of people?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I work with a department, which is so new for me. I'm not used to being in departments. I'm used to being one person working alone all the time. So it's cool, you get to learn from other people, you get to ask other people questions when you don't know what the answer is, and you've got people who have, more than 30 years of experience, which is such a huge benefit.
Are they gatekeeping in terms of like you got to earn their respect? Because I know that in trades, especially,
super honest. I don't know if it's just my luck, but no, not for me. It's everyone's been really helpful, and I feel lucky because I know I've heard the same thing. But within the week, like if I'm wanting to do something, or I'm like, oh, next time you work on one of those big cranes, or next time you're working on one of these machines and you're opening it up, can I come with? Can I take a look? They've always been like, yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
Things, yeah.
Yeah. I like that. One thing that I really appreciate about you is like you're a person of labor. You like to work with your hands.
Yeah.
Also, like knowing from like you're just doing multiple things in the past. I've always associated physical labor with you. That's not like however you want to take it, but I think that's super.
I'll take it positively. I don't think you're trying to hurt me, so I'll take it positively.
No, I'm not trying to say, because I'm one of those like obnoxious 9 to 5 office workers. I've been missing like work with my hands a lot. But let's talk about the event that you're throwing together. Do you want to do a quick promo? Just really early in this episode, just to like encourage people to come.
Absolutely. So kind of tying into working with electronics and electricity in general, stuff that I've been doing since, going to school for it and everything. It's been nice to have an application for it outside of just a job, though I will say it's been very much work as well to do. But for the last probably 6 or 7 months, I and Peter Harriman, I don't know if you've met before, Pete. We've been.
Yeah, I know Peter.
Yes, and I would say really Pete's put in like a ton of the work, if anything, like in terms of research and looking things up. But it really does take that. We've been working on building a massive sound system. So in the stylings of something that you would see, late 60s, 70s Jamaica, but kind of pushing it forward to more of like the UK sound system scene. A lot of the stuff we've looked at, where we've drawn kind of the most inspiration, has been where those two cultures kind of met and what they lended to each other in terms of just more power, bigger systems, bigger communities, and like the driving force to create something that was foundational to so many different genres of music. So it's something that I try to explain to people sometimes, is that, very few people I know would put on like some really good reggae or dub music and be like, oh, this is terrible. Most people don't know a lot about it or don't invest like a ton of time into it. But then also, like, weirdly, a lot more people than I ever think do, you know? And it's been foundational to drum and bass, it's been foundational to jungle music, it's been foundational to any number of electronic remixes and stuff like that. Remix culture in general, I think, wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Jamaican music, going back to artists like U-Roy, who were some of the first kind of like known voices and MCs taking versions of songs where they'd taken out the vocals and made these special DJ mixes where they would have MCs go over them. And then eventually it was so popular that they would just record MCs on the blanks on the B-sides of the singles. So it became very much the first culture of remixes, which I think is fantastic. It really starts to pave the way for what it meant to do with something sonic when it comes to DJing and when it comes to mixing music. And sometimes paying homage, but also it follows that same sort of criteria that you see with maybe jazz standards, where it's not abnormal for jazz musicians to learn so many different songs. Now, whether the drive at the time was to kind of like all learn to do the same covers as standards, it really wasn't that. Mostly it was that, you know, it was hard to make music all the time. It's hard to write new songs, and songs that did well would be remixed and redone time and time again. But I think something that we see in contemporary culture when it comes to remixing and repurposing, recycling sound, which can not always be associated with good connotations, some people have negative connotations with it, but I think every one of us has at least one song that is not the original, but we like that better. You know, there's always something to be said for pulling your own artistry into it, being able to do more with something that's there, showing how much it means to you.
It's so much more like a linear way to listen to music in like a club setting. You have like two digital, you know, DJ decks. Totally. People just kind of react to it. But then I think a sound system like this event that you're throwing together, it's like a new way of listening more fully.
Yeah, totally. And it's
bodily to the music.
Sorry, you go on. My cat's just
you should bring the cat too. I want to ask why sound system? Like, I know marginally like some of the histories. I've been reading this book by the UK writer Emma Warren. I think you would like the book. It's called Dance Your Way Home.
Sure.
She writes about like UK club and sound system culture. I just started the book, so she talks to a bunch of different people, like pioneers, like especially sound system pioneers, how the stories kind of come about. Why a sound system? Like, why do you think like a sound system night is really unique to the city right now, or this current moment, if you think about it?
You know, I can speak on this, and I know you have heard me talk about this a lot. It's like one of my biggest complaints. And not everybody agrees with me. Like, we're all getting older here and there, but I think shows are frequently too quiet, and I think they are frequently they get ended too early. You know, like everything ends before 11 and everything is in a safe decibel range. And I feel like you don't get the same kind of catharsis and sense of being truly in tune with what's going on when it's you know, everything's timed out, everything's like, oh, we have noise complaints, and it's like, I understand it's again, it always is done in the spirit of respect, and it's also done with an understanding that we don't have always the most available spaces. But a big part of what this is and doing sound system is as well as finding spaces, finding places where you can make that much noise, where you're not going to have the cops called on you right away, you know. And that means like warehouse spaces. That means Legion halls that have no neighbors. And also, it means you're kind of not usually setting up in traditional venues because they generally have their own sound systems as this, like their built-in PA systems and such. It's actually worse to have that when you're trying to set up because it's already plugged in. You end up having to disconnect all their stuff, and they're not happy about that either. So the whole thing is a lot more work in some ways, but you also have a very special sort of, it really keeps you tuned in. Like you pay a lot of attention to every detail, every frequency, right? Because we build these boxes from the lowest of low end to the highest of high end, and we have to pick every speaker and lay them out as we would or as we want to try and get the most dynamic range we can. So every show is an attempt to really curate not just the sounds in terms of the music we're playing, but how it's sonically delivered as well in the most like analog of formats, just pure audio and where it goes. So it's why is like probably also because it is such a time consuming investment. It's something that you really get to pour yourself into, you know, and you know me, like I love all consuming things. I love something I can really bite into and be passionate about. And that's to say nothing of also just how amazing the music of that era and the music that continues to come out of the UK as well, and to an extent of France, and any number of other strongholds for sound system culture that still exist. Montreal still has a good few sound systems too. And even Hamilton, while I don't think everyone's plugged into the scenes all the time, there's at least 2 or 3 sound systems kicking in this city as well, you know? So it's not something that doesn't exist, but I think it's something that I'd like to use, at least the privilege I have being somebody in certain spaces in the city, to kind of bring it more to the forefront as something that people are really passionate about, and something that takes a lot of work and is worthy, I think, recognition and attendance, you know.
Totally. Yeah. I think when I have only very limited going out experience in Toronto, not like obviously compared to you. It's when a sound system is set up for differently, you just behave to space very differently as well. I think just in Hamilton, I feel like it can only capture so limited of what can be done, which was why I'm so excited for the event. I'm definitely gonna be having so much fun.
It's one of those things. It's also been just a long time coming for both Pete and I. Again, I'll remember to mention Pete. Pete's been probably the driving force for a lot of this in terms of a lot of the monetary investments and a lot of monies. But also Pete is like a fantastic researcher. So when he's looking at, well, what kind of drivers or speakers, you know, would we be using to really get the kinds of sounds you need? Talk to Pete. He'll tell you everything you need to know about it. I did the wiring. That was kind of my thing. It's like, I'll do all the wiring. I'll do the manual labor. not
I was going to say it.
Again, not to say Pete hasn't done his fair share as well, but it's been a lot of teamwork between the two of us, and it's been nice to have somebody who can really kind of push and drive things forward with me on this. And so,
do you think there's a parallel? Sorry to jump into that. Do you think it's a parallel between your electrical engineering world and the sound system world? I mean, there's obviously the hardware stuff, but
there's a lot. There's a lot of research involved, and if anybody ever dives into like the whole audiophile, also like electrical engineering kind of side of things, you will have people who will argue for days and days and days and days about all the things you could, should, can, and can't do when it comes to building application systems, how to wire things up properly, what a good circuit looks like, down to, you know, what the best screws and bolts are to put everything together so that it's as solid as it can be. Everything gets debated in our group, which that I will say that area of things is very gatekeepy and very opinionated. I guess maybe not gatekeeping, because everybody will share their opinion with you, but you know, you should really stand on your own feet when it comes to making decisions and things like this. Try things, see how they sound, figure it out yourself, which is nice because you don't want to have to spend days listening to a bunch of guys tell you what you should do, you know?
How's the space working for you guys? I mean, it's a relatively larger system, so
Oh yeah.
how do you guys go about like storing it? And then what about the venue itself? Are
Uh,
they
yeah.
kind of foreign to the idea?
So this will be the first kind of actual performance we're doing with it, and that'll be at Mule Spinner. And Mule Spinner is a good venue for a couple of reasons. One of them is that they actually have a good power source to hook up to. When you're powering a system this big, this is another thing, is you need a lot more power than you would for other smaller systems. Instead of running off of 15 amp plugs that we standardly do on a lot of shows, we're running on 30, or if we can get it, we'll run on a 50 amp plug. So for us, this is a good place because they at least have 30 amps we can draw from. They have well-isolated circuits. And I think the size of the space is really good. Not too big, not too small. A space that's too big, it's too echoey. And also, even if like 50 or 60 people come, you'll be like, it feels quiet, even though it's kind of pumping. So it's a great space. Not to mention it's beautiful. It's a nice old industrial space. It's been repurposed. So I think it's a great thing to kind of kick things off with. They've been really supportive. Glenn's been really nice. Glenn over at Cotton Factory. And so we're hoping it's going to be a great place to kind of kick it off. And that's November 2nd. We're coming right up. Still lots to do. We're staying busy right until the end. We got to do a test run there about a week or two ago and just test out all the wiring. And this is the crazy thing. It's, again, storing it. We don't just have this, at our houses or wherever we are, our apartments. You can't fit it. It's too big. It's too much. If everything's stacked up, it's about 10 or more feet tall, and then it's another 12 plus feet wide. So it's a wall. It's a literal wall of speed. It's a large one like that. We have to keep things at lockups. I'm not saying where, but we do. We keep things at a lockup, and it's locked tight somewhere that's got security 24/7 because it's just that much effort to put it into it. You can't have it. It'll be really exciting. I'm excited to hear it full blast and full tilt. Doing the test run, even it was so hard to keep the time limited. With just we only really brought a handful of records each. And we just wanted to keep playing stuff on it. And I think that was the feeling I was hoping to have, is that as soon as you put something on, you go, oh my gosh, this is worlds better and worlds different when you can have your body literally being shaken by subwoofers. It's a whole other song. And you're talking about songs that I think people otherwise might, if they listen to them just through their headphones or whatever, you might be like, oh yeah, it's a cool song. But then when you hear that where the subwoofer is in the mix, and you realize, oh no, there's a reason why these songs were dance anthems, some of them in the late 60s, 70s, and into the 80s. You're like, oh, these were really danced. These were actually dance songs. And these songs were built to be played on large format systems, going back to the days Cox and Dodd system in Jamaica. And then looking forward even into the UK systems, Josh Aka's system and Abashanti, both really big. And some of these guys still around. Channel 1 sound system, Mikey Dread, those guys still playing stuff in the UK. And they've got boiler room sets that you could check out too if you want to see what that really looks like. Although if I want to talk about an impressive one, Kebra, Ethiopia, boiler room set in Ethiopia, big sound system, a really cool watch, And I think you kind of get the idea of how impactful and big these kinds of events are when they happen. They're kind of more than just going to a DJ show and chatting with friends. It's like a spectacle. You really are listening, not just with your ears, but with your body as well.
It's an event in itself, totally.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. How's the reception been? Are people curious? Do you find a lot of people express interest already?
I think that it's something that not everybody's aware of in terms of how you describe it to someone, what it is. It's kind of difficult stuff. Like, they're like, okay, so what is it? And you're like, it's a lot of really big speakers. And they're like, why should I care about that? And you're like, okay. Definitely people who are more into vinyl and records, I think, are more likely to be aware of sound system culture. We definitely have a lot of recognition when it comes to other collectors and vinyl collectors who know the records and know the songs. Other vinyl DJs definitely are very much in what a sound system and a large one looks like. As for everyone else, I think I couldn't describe it in another way to attract someone in, but the first time I got to go to a sound system show was not even that long ago myself, but when I went, I was like, oh my gosh, this is life-changing. I can see why people do this. And this was last year, probably around this time. I saw Ja Tubby's sound system in Toronto in a photo studio. And it was like not a huge space, but the speakers took up a third of it. And it was packed. It was packed almost all night, and they went until 5 a.m. It was easy to stay there. It was hard to. I think until you experience some of this music through the system, it's really tough to grasp what it is. So I would say that even if you're just curious about sonically what a hand-built system can really sound like and what the limits you can push on that are, it's definitely something you should come to. It changed the way that I heard and listened to a lot of stuff.
Totally. And I think not as we're getting older, I think it's so easy to assume I wish young people know about this. I was just talking to a lot of students because I work in the campus, and we're just the topic of music kind of comes up. So I've told them about the night, and they also have a bunch of questions. So I'm definitely going to share this episode with them as well.
No, please. I mean, it's one of those times where I especially encourage people who don't think it's their thing, or unless you're someone who legitimately hates music. Like, if you hate music, don't come on my guest. But
I think as a control, like a science experimental control, you should play the blandest pop song there, just to see how physically it feels different there.
I have some fun stuff up my sleeve for this system for sure. I've been amassing some. What's up, honey? Sorry, she's chatting. I've been amassing some really interesting kind of Foley records, instructional stuff, and esoteric records, kind of do some overlaying with. But it is primarily going to be hard and heavy Jamaican stuff, which again I think is something so many people missed and didn't see. But the true inspiration, the true tracks that really kind of cemented what became jungle and what became drum and bass, and so much of the up tempo. Really hard, heavy dub stuff in the late 70s, 80s. It's so incredibly danceable that I don't know how to describe it to people, where I'm you need to hear it on a system, because if you hear it, you're like, yeah, this is cool. I can see how this is kind of proto jungle or proto drum and bass. But I'm yeah, but then hear it with the subwoofer and hear it with everything. And you're like, oh my gosh, not only is this danceable, but I want to dance to this. You
want to be in the song.
Yeah, you really feel a part of it. And I think, again, everybody knows how good it is to be totally shook by a woofer. Oh man, it's weird, because the thing with those frequencies is they don't feel like they're you're not bursting your eardrums. You can walk in and it's loud and high pitch. It hurts, but we balance everything out. We have the full control over where everything goes. You're going to have the bass driving through you. Everything else balanced out. Yeah, I wish I could show you.
We're gonna, I can't believe I have to wait almost 1 more month for this. I'm going to promote it for you. So, folks, if you're watching this episode, it's going to be happening on November 2nd, Saturday at the Muse Spinner. Starting at, I believe, 7 p.m. or 7 p.m. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think people are going to show at 7. I'll probably have some slower warm up stuff going. around then. It'll be me and Pete that night, and I think we'll probably have some special guests. A couple of people are going to be coming in. I'm going to see if I can get some people to do toasting. There's a few people who I've asked, so they're on my mind. And then a few of the local Jamaican guys in Hamilton. I'm going to get some of them to definitely come down. If they want to toast, I'm happy to have them. But they've been all so supportive. And I think that's one thing that's really also been a driving factor. Is there's been no person, especially amongst the Jamaican community, that we've talked to who has been anything less than incredibly supportive. All these guys, especially the guys who are in their 60s and 70s, every single one of them, we've traded records with them. We've traded labor for records with them. We've traded labor for stories. And I've gotten to hear just some of the coolest stuff from these guys. And every one of them has been excited about the system. So I'm hoping that I get to have a chunk of that community there.
It's
show them
beautiful.
my perspective as well.
Thank you for coming up. I want to try like a segment. It's called I Don't Think So, Honey.
Right.
So it can be anything about your project or anything that you cannot stand. And you're going to be like, I don't think so, honey. And then the thing that you want to talk about. And you have 1 minute to ramble and rant.
Oh my God. Like I haven't been rambling and ranting this entire time.
But you're actually using this 1 minute to complain. So
okay. I'm trying to.
Do you need a second to think about it?
I'm complain about the project. Is that it?
Yeah. Like for me, I don't think so. It would be like, I don't think so, honey. Like people facing the DJ booth. Like,
okay.
Like I could go on like a 1 minute rant about it. Like and like other seemingly insignificant stuff or really important stuff as well.
Okay. So like something that like is like nobody else would care about this, but it pisses me off, then here's you should know. Then you should know.
Exactly. And then you always like start it with like, I don't think so, honey. Yeah.
Okay. I want to try and stay true to the format, even though I've never seen it represented. So I'm going to try my best.
Sure.
Okay. I'm
going to start if you give me the time.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to give it a shot. Go for it.
Start.
Yeah. I don't think so, honey. When I see your power amplifier and it says 10,000 watts, and I know you can't draw that from a 15 amp plug, I'm like, you should get more power amplifiers because there's a reason why your subwoofers sound weak. You're not powering them properly, and people don't know that, and you don't know that, but it's just all over the internet, and it's science, and you can look it up. And it's one of those things where everyone's like, well, it's just your opinion. It's just your opinion that this power amplifier is 10,000 watts or not 10,000 watts. And I'm like, it's not my opinion. It's a fact. It isn't. You were lied to. That can't
15 seconds.
You can't make more noise with that just because it was cheaper and you thought you got a good deal. It sucks. Invest the time.
5 seconds.
Invest your time, do your research, have a good sound.
Your time is up. And that is Seamus's I don't think so, honey. That's a really niche rant.
I was like, it came up in conversation, and I hope the person who I'm targeting doesn't take it too personally, but it's just like I've been holding it back from saying it for so long, and I'm like, power amplifiers only draw so much. They only do.
Say that shit to your yeah. Say that shit with your chest. I want to thank you for joining us in the show, and I wish to see you around the block, and I'll definitely be there. Yeah. Do you want to give a final shout out to people before we kind of wrap up?
Yeah, no, definitely. I know it's just me who's talking here today, and I can imagine people not being stoked with all my dorking out here, but it's better it's me because Pete is far more knowledgeable and far more dorky than I am, and you would have really learned a true lesson in history if it was him on this interview. He's probably been one of the best people to have to work with for all of this. He's somebody who genuinely cares about music, the culture, and the work, and really doing the work and committing to it. I think more so than I could speak for myself. So I feel really lucky that I'm kind of getting to represent it. For those who don't know, the system is called Sound Dimension Sound System. And in case you're wondering, hey, it looks like it's spelled wrong. It's not. That's how it was spelled on the records back in the day. So it's just an homage to what it was. I think definitely big thanks to anybody in the future, named or unnamed, who will help us move those huge speakers into the venue on November 2nd, because it's a lot of work. So open call for crew, and definitely get in contact or send a message on Instagram if you want to help out. You want to be a part of the system in terms of helping move it, and we can figure out how to kind of compensate that. Otherwise, if you have any other questions about the show or just want some examples of stuff that gets played, follow me or follow Pete or follow the Sound Dimension System. I'm at Hamiltonaire, as you can see on the screen. That's me on Instagram.
Put it on there. I'll put it somewhere else.
Okay. Put it on. And yeah, if you have any questions, just ask me. There's a lot of people I'd like to thank, and I've already talked a lot. So.
Yeah, thanks for everyone tuning in. Hope to see you there. This will be out really shortly. Yeah, goodbye.
Jeff, thank you. Love you.